The trial of Rick Harrison continues to focus on allegations of smuggling and money laundering, a financial case closely followed by the media and fans across the country. Then, the 27th witness steps forward, a young woman with an unfamiliar face and a name never before mentioned in the adult film industry. She briefly introduces herself. "I am his adopted daughter." The silence in the courtroom is overwhelming, only to be broken a few minutes later by her next words. "They took turns telling me just 5 words, but enough to flip the entire structure of the trial." The silence in the courtroom was overwhelming, but just a few minutes later, the young woman's next words shattered the tense atmosphere. "They took turns telling me just 5 words, but enough to flip the entire structure of the trial." Those words held immense power, leaving everyone present in the courtroom in disbelief. Could this be just a coincidence or a turning point in the case that will change everything forever? Let's uncover the truth behind these words together. Want to know the truth behind it all? Don't forget to leave a comment with a 1 if you empathize with Rick Harrison, or a 0 if you have a different opinion. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next, where we'll reveal all the secrets behind this story. Enough to tear apart the carefully crafted image built over thousands of television episodes, commercial appearances, and the portrayal of a model American father. No one knew that for over a decade, Rick Harrison had kept an adopted daughter hidden. And what she brought into the courtroom was not a plea for mercy, but a horrifying secret about abuse of power and systematic silence. Are her words the truth, or just a brutal twist in the media storm? Part 1. Building and protecting an empire, Rick Harrison was once the epitome of American reality TV ideals. A simple businessman from a working-class background who single-handedly turned a rundown pawn shop in Las Vegas into a multi-million-dollar entertainment empire. For over a decade, viewers tuned into Pawn Stars not just for the antiques, but for the man behind the counter. Rick, with his half-smile, experienced voice, and demeanor of someone who knew what was right. The show The Porn Star premiered in 2009 on the History Channel and quickly became a phenomenon. Its format was simple. Customers brought strange or valuable items to the pawn shop, and Rick, along with his family members, appraised, negotiated, and bought them. However, the success of the show wasn't in the artifacts themselves, but in Rick's family and his father, Richard Oldman Harrison, representing 2 generations, 2 mindsets, and 2 negotiation styles. Rick's son, Cory, represented the new, rebellious generation, challenging tradition but remaining incredibly loyal to the family legacy. Together, they created a profound story of humanity where viewers not only learned history, but also felt like part of that family. The core of the story is Rick Harrison. He wasn't just the shop's operator. He shaped the identity of the show. Behind the scenes, Rick was known for his meticulous control. He insisted on viewing episode cuts before they aired, intervened in production when necessary, and prohibited airing any detail that could damage the family image. Everything had to be relatable, respectful, and thoroughly American. In interviews, Rick displayed a humorous personality, sometimes sarcastic but never crossing moral boundaries. Every article, every television appearance acted as armor protecting him from doubt. Even when whispers within the industry suggested that Rick was not as likable in real life as he appeared on screen, no one dared to dig deeper. After all, Rick was generating revenue. However, inside this portrait of the ideal family, there was a strange void. There was no adopted daughter. In magazine shows at fan events, Rick talked about his son, his father, and the team, but never mentioned an adopted daughter. No photos, no personal anecdotes, no appearances on air. The media once offered simple explanations. Perhaps she didn't like attention. Others speculated that Rick was trying to protect his child's privacy, but looking back, that was neither romantic nor benign. It was a deadly gap. Evidence showed that Rick had created a completely separate television family from his real family, where one member was erased from the story to hide a dark secret. The absence of his daughter was not a trivial oddity, but the foundation of an underground criminal network. While the public embraced Rick as a model of fatherhood, Sarika, the child he should have protected, was left alone, forced to face a system designed to keep her silent. When revelations in the trial showed that Rick had installed an internal camera system in his home, that his adopted daughter was homeschooled with no friends, no freedom, not even able to lock her door, and no family photos showing her with Rick, another photo emerged, one of Rick Harrison that the public had never known. This was a man who used fame as a facade, a man who controlled not just the TV storyline but the truth itself. The girl mentioned for so long had been believed by the public to not exist. Or if she did, she was seen as part of Rick Harrison's private life, a media blackout protected under the guise of a compassionate, adoptive father. But in that trial, it became clear that this silence was not born out of love, but strategy. Her real name was never mentioned on television, nor recorded in any articles or interviews related to Rick. According to court records and her own testimony, she was born in 2001 in San Bernardino, California. Her biological mother struggled with drug addiction, repeatedly entering rehab and deemed unfit to parent. Her biological father, identity unknown, was believed to be homeless and occasionally incarcerated. From a young age, she entered the foster care system, moving from home to home, constantly calling strangers mom and dad. Rick was the main sponsor of the event. The victim testified that he stepped into the crowded room but stopped at a corner where she sat silently, her eyes hollow and thin, not scrambling for candy like the other children. "He looked at me as if I were a unique artifact," she told the court. Immediately after that event, Rick began the process of adopting. The timeline moved suspiciously fast. According to Nevada law, adoption typically requires a minimum of 12 months for background checks, counseling, and home supervision. But in just 84 days, Rick was granted legal custody. No one questioned it because he was Rick Harrison. So, the girl entered his world not through love, but through a legal contract. When she moved to Rick's West Las Vegas mansion, everything seemed absurdly perfect at first. Her own room, beautiful clothes, hot meals, and a famous, wealthy father who often smiled at her. But within a few weeks, rules began to appear. She was forbidden from leaving her room after 8 p.m. Locking the door was not allowed. Social media was banned. She could not make phone calls unless supervised. She was homeschooled by rotating tutors every few months. No friends, no school, no outside world. At the age of 11, she realized she wasn't living in a family, but in an absolute control system, where every action and feeling had to be approved. When her lawyer asked why she didn't resist, she answered, "I thought I was lucky. Every foster child dreams of having a family, and I have a famous father. I believed he loved me. But his displays of affection soon crossed boundaries, massaging her back, opposed. The nightly kisses on her forehead made her uneasy. Cameras were installed in the hallway to ensure safety. Slowly, Rick's smile turned into a nightmare for her. She could not pinpoint the moment he transformed from a foster father to an abuser. Every action was disguised as love. Rick would whisper, "I'm doing this because you're special. You deserve the best. But don't tell anyone, they won't understand." In that moment, she realized she wasn't a child adopted out of love, but a possession. Over time, these actions became late-night teaching rituals. Cory entered her room without knocking. Unusually long hugs. There was no need to shout threats. Mere reminders of her foster status or life on the streets were enough to silence her. "I don't want to be another number here. At least I'm Rick Harrison's daughter, even though that name was never truly mine," she wrote in a diary submitted as evidence. She didn't dare confide in anyone. Whenever a new tutor arrived, she tried to speak out but met only willful ignorance. She testified and left the courtroom in stunned silence. At 15, she had tried to escape. She slipped out through a side door and reached the nearest police station. Yet what Rick couldn't control was her memory and determination. Despite living in fear, she wrote everything down. Every detail, every recording, she renamed files, hid memory cards, and gathered evidence for the day she knew silence would destroy what was left of her. That day came on the witness stand. She was no longer the troubled child. She was an adult, the only one daring to stand in a room full of power and declare, "I am the truth you tried to bury alive." Once, Rick told her, "You need to learn how to show affection in this family. Here, your brother and I are one." Whenever she cried or protested, Rick would say, "If you're not grateful, I can send you back to where you came from." But within hours, Rick arrived with a lawyer. He described her as a troubled teen suffering from emotional trauma due to her mother's abandonment. The police believed him and returned her. The door to her room was locked behind her, this time more securely than before. Even more terrifying was her half-brother, Cory Harrison, who appeared during these family moments. He rarely spoke, but always watched intently. According to her testimony, Cory became angry whenever she disobeyed. The cycle of control began with isolation and culminated in psychological manipulation. Some saw, but pretended not to. They worked for Rick Harrison, not for their conscience. Initially, the appearance of the 27th witness drew little attention. She calmly took the stand, her identity verified by the prosecution, but kept confidential due to the sensitive nature of her testimony. However, when permitted to speak, she looked directly at Rick and delivered 5 chilling words. "They took turns talking to me." Over the course of nearly an hour, she detailed alleged incidents of sexual abuse, coercion, and psychological manipulation by Rick and his son over years while she lived in their home. She stated that she had tried to escape at age 15, but was returned after Rick convinced the police she suffered from juvenile behavioral disorders. That incident further restricted her life even more severely. She recounted Rick's chilling warning, "No one will believe you. I'm Rick Harrison. You're nobody." She testified that she had secretly collected evidence for years: personal diaries, voice recordings, screenshots, and copies of data from internal surveillance cameras. She said she backed up this data on a hard drive and brought it to court. That hard drive is now being held for forensic examination. It was revealed that the witness was legally adopted by Rick at age 10 following a charity event where he participated as the main sponsor. One of the most striking moments came when she recounted Rick's chilling warning. "No one will believe you. I'm Rick Harrison. You're nobody." After her escape attempt at age 15, Rick convinced the police she suffered from juvenile behavioral disorders, leading to her return. Rick's defense team immediately requested a recess after her testimony, arguing that it was irrelevant to the financial nature of the case, but the motion was denied. Rick's legal team issued no formal statement, only stating that their client denies all allegations unrelated to the original case. According to the courtroom testimony, the girl accused Cory Harrison, Rick's son, alongside his father, of perpetrating sexual abuse, coercion, and psychological manipulation over years while she lived in their home. On Monday morning, the federal trial of Rick Harrison, a central figure in a high-profile artifact, smuggling, and money laundering case, entered its third week with a shocking development. The girl's statement immediately stunned the courtroom. Some reporters were said to have stopped taking notes, unable to believe what they had just heard. This development significantly altered the trial's trajectory. The case, which began as a focus on financial crimes, has now expanded into a far more serious criminal investigation involving allegations of child abuse and psychological manipulation. Following the witness's testimony, the lead prosecutor announced plans to expand the scope of charges if the evidence is verified. On social media, a clip capturing the exact moment of her testimony has gone viral. The girl, the witness, submitted additional evidence, including a hard drive containing hundreds of files, handwritten diaries, photos, and audio recordings collected over nearly a decade. These files were organized on a 2TB SSD tagged as evidence, holding over 400 data files in a detailed time-stamped folder structure, including images, recordings, and video clips extracted from hidden cameras in the Harrison family home. Some file names corresponded exactly to the dates and contexts described in her testimony. A video, kept confidential to protect her identity, showed her in her room, her eyes repeatedly glancing toward a ceiling corner, later verified as the hiding spot of a micro camera disguised in a smoke detector. Her movements and reactions aligned with the psychological stress detailed in her prior medical evaluations. Additionally, a 176-page handwritten diary, authenticated by a handwriting expert, showed natural aging signs. The diary chronicled prolonged abuse, with each entry including specific dates, emotions, dialogues, actions, and times of day. One diary excerpt read, "July 22, 2015, Rick came home after dinner. He said, 'No one will love me like he and Cory do.'" A diary excerpt from the witness recorded Rick's words on July 22, 2015. "No one will love me like he and Cory do." Digital evidence revealed that Rick had long denied owning secret cameras in the home, but the hard drive's metadata confirmed these security devices, including a micro camera, were indeed installed in his residence. According to the diary excerpt, Cory was referenced in Rick's statement on July 22, 2015. "No one will love me like he and Cory do," implying his role in the alleged abusive behavior. The hashtag #OurJadedTheyTookTurnsOnMe appeared over 3 million times within 8 hours of the hearing. Prominent child protection organizations and activists called for a broader investigation and better witness protection. Legal observers now believe the Rick Harrison trial may evolve into a complex criminal case involving child abuse. a result few could have imagined when the initial proceedings centered on economic misconduct and federal financial violations. The question is no longer whether Rick Harrison laundered money, but how much truth was buried beneath the legacy he built over a decade. The day after the shocking testimony at Clark County Courthouse in Las Vegas, the jury and legal teams were summoned earlier than usual. The prosecution moved to expand the trial's scope based on new evidence. Digital forensic experts from the Clark County District Attorney's Office confirmed the 2TB SSD showed no signs of tampering, fabrication, or post-creation editing. File metadata matched recorded timestamps and aligned with security devices known to be installed in the Harrison home. A handwriting expert authenticated the 176-page diary, preserved in dry, clean conditions, as chronological evidence of prolonged abuse, as each entry precisely matched the digital data's timestamps. The girl recorded an 18-second audio clip on an old mobile phone, in which a male voice identified as Rick Harrison says, "You should consider yourself lucky we adopted you. If you were still in the system, you'd be passed around like trash." A video from a hidden camera showed her in her room, eyes repeatedly glancing toward a ceiling corner, where a micro camera was hidden in a smoke detector. Her movements and reactions aligned with psychological stress noted in medical evaluations. Her psychological profile, per Dr. Elizabeth Connors, showed symptoms like dissociation, short-term memory loss, chronic insomnia, and severe anxiety, consistent with prolonged sexual abuse in a confined environment. Rick was recorded in an 18-second audio saying, "You should consider yourself lucky we adopted you. If you were still in the system, you'd be passed around like trash." UCLA voice analysts matched the clip to his known voice samples with over 96% confidence. A series of voicemails and emails between Rick and Cory were presented, including a message from Cory at 2:14 a.m. "Your turn tonight." Gloria Mendoza, a housekeeper from 2014-2016, testified she once saw Rick, shirtless from the waist up, in a compromising situation with the adopted daughter, who was frozen in fear. Rick long denied owning secret cameras, but hard drive evidence confirmed their existence. An industry insider revealed Rick repeatedly refused producers' requests to include his adopted daughter in family TV segments, citing her dislike of cameras, a remark now carrying painful significance. You won't believe the shocking evidence revealed in this case. Rick's chilling 18-second recording, along with the messages and testimonies from witnesses, paints a terrifying picture of the truth. Don't miss out on this unexpected story. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated with the latest developments. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's uncover this mystery together. Cory was referenced in a 2:14 a.m. message, "Your turn tonight," implying his role in the alleged abuse. On April 18th, in Courtroom 3 of Clark County Courthouse, Cory Harrison, Rick's biological son, was called to the witness stand. Until then, he had remained silent throughout the trial, sitting beside his father like a familiar presence. Video footage confirmed Rick's presence in the bedroom area for 47 minutes after the stereo system was turned up unusually loud, matching the witness's diary. The prosecution presented messages and emails between Rick and Cory, but the defense argued the "Your turn tonight" message could be a joke or work schedule reference, though this was deemed unconvincing given the testimony and evidence. Gloria Mendoza, a housekeeper from 2014-2016, testified she saw the girl frozen in fear during a compromising situation with Rick, but didn't report it, fearing legal retaliation. Brett Cummings, a delivery driver, inadvertently recorded screams and pleas of, "Please don't do that again," on his phone, verified as unedited by the Las Vegas Forensic Audio Lab. Dr. Elizabeth Connors, a forensic psychologist, confirmed the witness's psychological state aligned with systematic abuse. Legal analysts agree that proving money laundering is just the tip of the iceberg. The witness counsel submitted all materials to the FBI, urging an expanded federal investigation into organized child abuse and exploitation networks. The girl, the witness, was referenced in a personal diary entry by Cory, in which he wrote, "I don't know how this will end. Sometimes I think things have gone too far, but now I'm just scared. Scared she'll talk." This entry, authenticated as Cory's handwriting, bolstered the credibility of her testimony, according to a forensic psychologist from UNLV. Rick was referenced in the context of the "Your Turn Tonight" message Cory sent him at 2:14 a.m. An audio recording, captured by a pen-shaped recorder planted by a housekeeper, included the voices of Cory and Rick in the living room on the evening the girl cried herself to sleep. This recording was used to confront Cory in court. On April 18th, in Courtroom 3 of Clark County Courthouse, Cory Harrison, Rick's biological son, took the witness stand. Dressed in a pale gray suit, his usual on-screen confidence was replaced by a haggard, hollow-eyed appearance, with hesitant steps and no eye contact. Initially, Cory responded to routine questions about his relationship with his father, his role in the family business, and how long he lived with his father with rehearsed caution, denying all allegations and dismissing the witness's testimony as fabricated due to long-term psychological trauma. However, when confronted with the "Your Turn Tonight" message sent from his phone at 2:14 a.m., his composure crumbled. He answered no when asked if he remembered sending it and said, "I don't know. Maybe a night shift at the shop," despite the prosecutor noting the girl's recorded anxiety that night. In frustration, Cory shouted, "I don't know what she's talking about. She's always been complicated, difficult, and makes things up." Later, the prosecution played an audio in which Cory's voice was heard saying, "She's doing it again. Maybe I need to teach her another lesson." This clip, recorded by a pen-shaped device planted by a housekeeper who quit after suspecting a toxic family environment, was captured in the living room on the evening the girl cried. When the audio played, Cory lost his composure and jumped up. The girl's testimony and the severity of her accusations marked the trial's second major turning point, forcing the defense to change strategy. Cory's performance on the stand deepened suspicions rather than dispelling them. Reporters noted that Cory looked more like a man facing conviction than one defending a family legacy. A tense silence lasted nearly 20 seconds after Cory's vague response about the "Your Turn Tonight" message. A juror turned away, and observers whispered among themselves. The audio, recorded by a housekeeper who resigned after suspecting a toxic environment in the Harrison family, captured Cory and Rick's remarks in the living room and was used as evidence. The housekeeper had planted the pen-shaped recorder before quitting. The girl, the witness, was referenced in a personal diary entry by Cory, in which he wrote, "I don't know how this will end. Sometimes I think things have gone too far. But now I'm just scared. Scared she'll talk." This entry, authenticated as Cory's handwriting, bolstered the credibility of her testimony, according to a forensic psychologist from UNLV. During the trial, as Cory's diary entry was read aloud, Rick avoided eye contact, staring down at the table. An anonymous former Pawn Stars crew member told the Las Vegas Review-Journal that Rick tightly controlled the show's content, hinting at his control over family-related activities. Cory shouted, "She's a liar! I fed her, clothed her, educated her," when he lost composure on the witness stand, prompting the judge's gavel to pound and his lawyer to request a 10-minute recess. As the trial resumed, Cory's responses became halting and defensive, his gaze fixed on the floor. The fatal blow came from a personal diary seized from his home, authenticated as his handwriting, which read, "I don't know how this will end. Sometimes I think things have gone too far, but now I'm just scared. Scared she'll talk." When the entry was read aloud, Cory sat motionless. A UNLV forensic psychologist concluded that Cory showed no remorse, only fear of exposure. A former Pawn Stars crew member revealed Cory was notoriously harsh with female staff, but no one spoke out for fear of losing their job. The courtroom atmosphere grew heavy after Cory's outburst. The judge's gavel pounded as his lawyer requested a recess. When Cory's diary entry was read aloud, silence fell, and the prosecution needed no further questions, as the evidence spoke for itself. On social media, outrage erupted. Former fans expressed disappointment and disgust. Past clips of Cory's witty remarks, once seen as harmless, were remixed and shared with captions like, "We thought this was just playful banter." An anonymous former Pawn Stars crew member told the Las Vegas Review-Journal that Cory was harsh with female staff, but no one dared speak out for fear of losing their job. A UNLV forensic psychologist analyzed that Cory's fear was not remorse, but anxiety about exposure, reinforcing the witness's credibility. Rick's adopted daughter remained expressionless as Cory stepped down from the witness stand. A reporter observed, "It wasn't hatred in her eyes. It was the look of someone who had watched her oppressor unmasked without uttering a word." Her role, though unnamed, was central, with her testimony dismantling the Harrison family's media facade. Leaked internal documents revealed she was the anonymous daughter never featured on Pawn Stars, hidden behind the curated family image designed to captivate audiences. Rick personally reviewed every Pawn Stars episode before airing, meticulously scripting content to ensure a humorous, heartwarming image of a typical American family. A former show editor revealed he was particularly controlling of scenes involving his son or late father, Richard "Old Man" Harrison. Leaked internal documents showed the family dynamic was crafted to appeal to middle-aged viewers, with Rick as the stern father. However, after Cory's testimony, the IRS froze at least a dozen of Rick's bank accounts and launched a comprehensive audit of all gold and silver pawnshop transactions from 2015 to 2022. Merchandise bearing Rick's name, from T-shirts to action figures, vanished from Walmart and Target shelves within 48 hours. As Cory stepped down from the witness stand, he left in silence with no farewell or supportive glance. An NBC column wrote, "Cory Harrison is not just a defendant. He embodies a generation born into privilege but devoid of morality, claiming ownership over another human." Cory's testimony, rather than discrediting the allegations, provided indirect evidence of orchestrated misconduct and complicity. The court approved an additional charge against Cory for witness intimidation after discovering emails he sent to former employees, urging them to stay silent about everything we've seen. Legal experts agree that the Harrison family's defense, particularly Cory's, has collapsed beyond salvage. Hours after Cory's dramatic testimony, consequences rippled beyond the courtroom, marking a turning point in American television culture. The History Channel, which aired Pawn Stars since 2009, announced the suspension of all episodes across platforms pending the court's final ruling. Streaming services like Hulu, YouTube TV, and Amazon Prime removed all Pawn Stars episodes from their libraries. The lead prosecutor stated that Cory's testimony provided indirect evidence of orchestrated misconduct. A deeper crisis emerged as the Harrison family, beloved by millions, was exposed as a meticulously crafted media facade. Leaked internal documents revealed the Pawn Stars family dynamic was designed to attract middle-aged viewers, with Rick as the stern father, Cory as the mischievous but teachable son, and Richard Old Man Harrison as the no-nonsense grandfather. Viewers were unaware of the anonymous daughter and an arranged eldest son, Adam, excluded from the show. Social media erupted with outrage, and NBC articles framed Cory as a symbol of amoral privilege. Rick Harrison, once beloved as a symbol of kindness and hard work on Pawn Stars, was exposed as the center of a brand strategy, hiding manipulation and control. A former employee told BuzzFeed News that working for Rick once felt like a life-changing opportunity, but now seemed like a staged performance. The public once shared clips of Rick's antique expertise on YouTube and laughed at his banter with Old Man or Chumley, believing in the presented family image. However, after the revelations, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop announced a temporary closure for employee and community safety. Its TripAdvisor rating plummeted from 4.8 to 2.1 in a week, with reviews shifting from praise to criticism of the horror of realizing you trusted people like this. The IRS continued freezing Rick's bank accounts and auditing the shop's transactions from 2015 to 2022. Cory is not directly mentioned in this part, but his prior testimony and related evidence, like his diary and messages, contributed to the downfall of the Harrison family brand. The consequences of his actions continue to impact the family's public image and business operations. Adam Harrison, Rick's eldest son from a previous relationship, posted on social media, "I cut ties with my dad in 2017. I don't know everything, but I'm not surprised." His statement reinforced revelations about the dark truth within the Harrison family, prompting the public to reconsider old rumors once ignored. The Rick Harrison scandal raised questions not only in the courtroom, but also on social forums and national news. How could a beloved TV figure hide years of wrongdoing undetected? A 2013 Pawn Stars crew member's account, "They only acted like a family when cameras were on. They barely spoke unless prompted," was revisited and validated. The public began dissecting how the Harrison family brand was scripted like a TV series, with every relationship, heartfelt moment, and emotional beat carefully edited to tell a compelling story. Yet behind it was manipulation, control, and a divide between public image and private truth. Blind faith in celebrities was analyzed as a societal phenomenon, with American media history full of cases where the public blamed victims to protect cherished images. The Harrison case is a stark example, with Rick as an ordinary TV figure, not a Hollywood star. Cultural fallout spread. The History Channel suspended Pawn Stars, streaming services like Hulu, YouTube TV, and Amazon Prime removed episodes, and related merchandise vanished from Walmart and Target. A former employee told BuzzFeed News that the Harrison family image was a meticulously orchestrated brand strategy. Rick Harrison's adopted daughter, the key trial witness, became the focus of public skepticism when she made serious accusations. Many reacted by questioning her motives. She's just after money. She never appeared before. Why speak up now? She had not existed in the media, not by accident, but by Rick's deliberate concealment. Despite presenting extensive documentation, witnesses, and digital evidence, she was doubted due to her foster care background and lack of social status. Yet her testimony shattered the Harrison family image, forcing the public to confront a harsher truth. Rick Harrison was beloved on Pawn Stars as approachable, sincere, humorous, and slightly old-fashioned, an image that endeared him to middle-aged audiences. For over a decade, he controlled post-production, curated storylines, decided who appeared on camera, and managed his family's private lives. No one, from cast to crew, had authority to question what happened off-camera. He spoke of family values, but deliberately hid his adopted daughter from the public, an act now seen as intentional. The scandal revealed Rick as not just a pawn shop owner, but a powerful figure whose fame granted moral immunity. The public believed in his TV, YouTube, and banter with Old Man or Chumley, not because it was true, but because they wanted it to be. Cory is not directly mentioned in this episode, but his testimony and previous behavior, such as text messages and journal entries, contributed to the Harrison family's downfall. The fallout from the allegations surrounding him continues to affect public confidence in the Pawn Stars brand. When Rick's adopted daughter made her accusations, many on Twitter and Reddit reacted by doubting her with comments like, "Rick's a good guy. TV doesn't lie." These responses stemmed not from malice but from collective self-defense, as people clung to old beliefs rather than accept a harsher truth. Dr. Laura Kim, a media psychologist at Stanford University, remarked, "We admire the stories celebrities embody. When that story collapses, we lose part of our identity." Pawn Stars was more than entertainment. It was nostalgia, a weekly TV ritual of a wise father guiding his son through life's challenges. The scandal left viewers feeling their childhood or cultural faith betrayed. Journalist Elijah Monroe wrote in The Atlantic that Rick is not unique, but a public example of an ecosystem where audiences and fame protect the powerful. The issue extends beyond Rick, raising questions about a societal structure where celebrities are trusted without scrutiny, while vulnerable victims, like those from foster care, are doubted despite evidence. The broader question is, how many other Ricks exist on talk shows, TED stages, YouTube, TikTok, commanding absolute trust without oversight? The trial's consequences will resonate long beyond its final day, impacting not just the victim and legal system, but how society views celebrities in the mass media era. Rick Harrison's adopted daughter, through 3 days in court with hundreds of documents, digital evidence, and supporting witnesses, reconstructed the true portrait of the Harrison family, a raw image of pain, trauma, and fear, devoid of TV gloss or polished dialogue. Leaving the witness stand, she didn't look back at Rick or seek the jury's gaze, only walked out of the courtroom with heavy steps, as if leaving behind a place that had buried her voice for over a decade. She refused to speak to waiting reporters, but her lawyer stated on her behalf, she doesn't want pity, she wants to be believed. Her final words at the hearing, "I refuse to die in silence, and today I didn't die," became a rallying cry on social media, a banner proclaiming her not as a victim, but a survivor. No longer the girl Rick tried to erase, she emerged as the witness to a truth the world had chosen to ignore. Rick Harrison, once hailed as America's everyman, lost everything before the law's verdict. Endorsement deals were canceled, Pawn Stars was shelved indefinitely, and his name was erased from cultural lists that once praised him. Most critically, the public no longer trusted him. His career didn't end with a sentence, but with the audience's silence. He had tried to silence his adopted daughter, but her voice pierced through the courtroom walls, exposing the truth behind the TV-crafted family image. Cory is not directly mentioned in this part, but his prior testimony and actions, such as messages, diary entries, and witness intimidation charges, contributed to the complete collapse of the Harrison family image, bolstering the adopted daughter's accusations and leading to the public's loss of trust. The initial accusations of money laundering and artifact smuggling, once dominating headlines, were overshadowed by the testimony of Rick Harrison's adopted daughter, whom he had kept in the shadows. The trial was not just about judging one man, but about exposing a system that worships celebrities to the point of sacrificing truth. The public once believed in Rick's TV persona, sharing his antique insights, witty negotiations, and meme-worthy catchphrases, but now faced a harsh reckoning. Why were we so ready to trust, and who will we blindly trust next? The public's moral verdict went beyond Rick, condemning those who doubted but chose silence. The girl's voice transcended the courtroom, posing a larger question for society in an era of idolization. Who are we overlooking? Who remains unheard? And when will we listen? The trial, though lasting only weeks, left lasting consequences, forcing society to reassess how it evaluates celebrities and the audience's role in upholding false images. What do you think about this? Have we been overlooking important voices? Don't forget to leave a comment with a 1 if you empathize with Rick and Cory, or a 0 if you have a different opinion. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on more exciting videos. See you in the next one.